Failure can feel like the end. It can feel heavy, like a stone resting on your chest, pressing down on your motivation, your hope, and your sense of who you are. But in truth, failure is not the end. It is a moment, a snapshot in time, a single note in a much longer song. The problem is that we tend to see failure as an identity statement rather than as information. We say, "I failed, therefore I am a failure," when in reality, the failure is simply a signpost. It's data telling us where the system we built broke down. This difference matters deeply because the story you tell yourself about what happened will shape what you do next. James Clear, in Atomic Habits, explains that your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. The same way your bank account is a lagging measure of your financial habits, your health is a lagging measure of your eating and exercise habits, and your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. When you fail, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of the systems you've been running. If you want different outcomes, the answer isn't to blame yourself harder or to try to muster more willpower. The answer is to build a better system and to restart not from where you fell, but from a place even stronger and smarter than before. Restarting after failure begins with accepting the reality of what happened. Without shame. Shame says there's something wrong with me, but learning says there's something wrong with my approach. That small difference opens the door to growth. When you allow yourself to look at your past attempts with curiosity rather than condemnation, you begin to see why you slipped. Maybe you tried to change too many things at once. Maybe you made the habit too big to sustain. Maybe your environment was full of cues for the old habit and none for the new. Maybe stress or fatigue knocked you off course. These are not moral failings, they're human. Understanding them gives you the power to adjust. The next step is to return to the smallest possible version of your habit. Clear calls this the 2-minute rule. Downscale the habit until it can be done in 2 minutes or less. If you fail to keep up a daily workout routine, restart by just rolling out your mat and doing one stretch. If you fail to write every day, restart by writing a single sentence. This seems almost laughable at first because it feels too small to matter. But small is exactly the point. The habit must become so easy you can't say no. By doing it consistently, even for a tiny amount of time, you're rebuilding your identity. I'm the kind of person who shows up. That identity shift is more powerful than any single large effort because it's the story you tell yourself about who you are that fuels your long-term actions. It is tempting to think you must make up for lost time by going harder, staying longer, or demanding perfection. But perfection is the enemy of progress. The real measure of success is not doing something once perfectly, but doing it consistently, even imperfectly, over time. This is because habits compound like interest. Missing one day won't ruin you, but the habit of missing will. Clear puts it simply, never miss twice. Missing once is a mistake. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. If you fall, get back up the very next day, even if it's for the smallest possible action. That act keeps the habit alive. Another powerful tool to restart after failure is to focus on systems, not goals. Goals are about results. Lose 10 kilograms, read 50 books, save a certain amount of money. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. Walk 15 minutes a day. Read 10 pages each night. Save 10% of every paycheck. You can't always control the results, but you can control the process. And, ironically, when you build a reliable system, the results often come on their own. So rather than beating yourself up over not reaching your old goal, look at the daily actions you can start again. Ask yourself, what system will make success inevitable? Then design your daily environment and routine around that system. Your environment is often the hidden driver of your behavior. Restarting after failure often means changing what surrounds you so the new habit becomes obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. If you keep slipping into scrolling your phone late at night, leave your phone to charge in another room. If you want to eat healthier but find yourself grabbing chips, place fruit at eye level and put junk food on a high shelf out of reach. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before so you see them first thing. These small environmental tweaks reduce your dependence on willpower, which is limited, and make the desired habit the default choice. A crucial part of restarting is also to remember why you started in the first place. Ask yourself, who do I want to become? This is about identity-based habits. Instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, say, I want to become a runner. Instead of, I want to write a book, say, I want to be a writer. Identity is powerful because when your actions align with who you believe you are, they become natural. When they conflict with that belief, they become a struggle. So when you restart, don't just pick up the habit you dropped. Reconnect it to your sense of self. Remind yourself daily, I am the kind of person who keeps going, even after setbacks. Another powerful technique to restart after failure is to track your progress visibly. Use a calendar or habit tracker. Every day you complete your tiny version of the habit. Mark an X over time. That growing chain of X's becomes motivation in itself. You won't want to break it. Even if you fail again later, you'll have a clear visual record that you have succeeded many times before. That's evidence to your mind that you can succeed again. Data beats doubt. Reflection is equally important. Once a week, take a few minutes to look back. Ask, what worked? What didn't? What small tweak can I make to my system? This keeps you from mindlessly repeating the same failed approach. Maybe you notice that late-night fatigue keeps making you skip your habit. Move it earlier in the day. Maybe you notice weekends derail you. Plan a different routine for weekends. The key is to see failure not as an obstacle, but as feedback as you restart. It helps to lower your expectations in the short term while keeping your long-term vision alive. Focus on showing up, not on showing off. Don't measure yourself by how much you do today, but by whether you did it at all. Over time, the small actions accumulate. You'll find yourself naturally doing more as the habit becomes part of who you are. It's also worth remembering that everyone fails, even the most disciplined people you admire. The difference is that they don't stay down. They don't make failure part of their identity. They see it as part of the process. They restart quickly. In Atomic Habits, Clear talks about a reader who broke his daily meditation streak after more than 800 days. Instead of quitting in frustration, he started again the next day. That's the mindset that builds lifelong habits. Forgiving yourself is part of the restart. Many people hold on to guilt, thinking it keeps them disciplined, but it usually just keeps them stuck. Letting go of guilt frees your energy to take action again. Say to yourself, I slipped, and that's okay. I'm starting again. That self-compassion doesn't make you lazy. It makes you resilient. If you struggle to restart alone, add accountability. Tell a friend your plan. Join a community of people with the same habit. Share your progress publicly. If that motivates you, Knowing someone else is watching often helps. You show up on days when your motivation fades. You can also use habit stacking to tie your new habit to something you already do. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will stretch for 1 minute. Linking a new action to an existing routine makes it easier to remember and harder to skip. This trick works because it rides the momentum of something you already do every day. When restarting, watch out for all or nothing thinking. This is the idea that if you can't do the full habit perfectly, it's not worth doing at all. This thinking kills progress because life is unpredictable. Some days will be messy. Instead, accept that partial effort still counts. If you planned to write for 30 minutes but only had 5, write for 5. It keeps the habit alive. You might also want to re-examine your motivation. External goals like weight, money, or praise fade over time. Intrinsic motivation, doing something because it feels good, because it aligns with your values, because it makes you proud, lasts longer. Reflect on why the habit matters to you beyond the numbers. This deeper why can pull you through the inevitable dips as you restart. Remember the power of small wins. Each time you complete your tiny habit, you get a little jolt of success. Over weeks and months, those small wins create momentum. Momentum matters more than intensity, especially after failure. The brain loves progress, even tiny progress. Lean into that dot in the end. Restarting after failure isn't about proving you're perfect. It's about proving to yourself that you are consistent, patient, and willing to learn. The path to mastery, to growth, to any meaningful goal is rarely a straight line. It's more like a loop. Try, fail, reflect, adjust, try again. Each loop makes you wiser and stronger. Imagine your habit as a small plant. Failure is like a storm that knocks it down. You can curse the storm, but it won't help. What helps is gently replanting it, watering it daily, and protecting it until it's rooted deeper. Over time, what once fell easily will stand firm. And yes, storms will come again, but your habit will be ready. You do not need to wait for motivation to restart. Action often comes before motivation. Do the smallest step, and the sense of progress will bring motivation back. Think less, do more, even if it feels mechanical at first. Soon the spark will return. The truth is, the people who seem most disciplined are not stronger than you. They've just practiced restarting faster, with less drama and self-judgment. They don't waste time debating whether to start again, they just do it. That's a skill you can build to. So today, if you failed, don't wait for tomorrow, or Monday, or the first of the month. Start now with the tiniest version of your habit. Say to yourself, I'm the kind of person who starts again. Over time, this identity will carry you through many setbacks, because you'll know, deep down, it's not about never falling, it's about always rising. Restarting is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength, wisdom, and hope. Every restart is a declaration. I still care about this. I still believe in myself. In that sense, failure becomes not an end, but a chance to begin again. Better prepared, in the words of James Clear, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So build a system so small you can't fail. A system that forgives mistakes. A system that pulls you forward even when you feel stuck. And every time you fall, remember, the habit isn't dead. It's just sleeping. Wake it gently, patiently, and with love. Over weeks, months, and years. Those countless restarts will build something far greater than any single burst of motivation could ever create. They will build you into the person you were trying to become all along, not perfect, but persistent, not flawless, but unbreakable. And in the end, that is what truly matters. The beauty of restarting is that every new attempt carries within it the lessons of the last. In each failure there are seeds of understanding, hints about what your real obstacles were. Perhaps you discovered that your morning routine collapsed, not because you lacked willpower, but because you stayed up too late the night before. Perhaps you realized your journaling habit failed, not because you don't like writing, but because your notebook was hidden away in a drawer. Each insight, however small, makes your next restart smarter than the last. Restarting, then, isn't simply repeating. It's refining. It's the practice of observing yourself with honesty and kindness, and then gently adjusting your path. We often romanticize transformation as something explosive, a sudden breakthrough, a dramatic change that wipes away all past mistakes. But true change is often invisible at first, quiet, almost boring in its daily repetition. Think of water dripping onto a stone. Each drop alone seems insignificant, yet over years it carves a groove. Your tiny daily habits work the same way. They shape who you become, day by day, without loud fanfare. The frustration is that you can't always see the progress immediately. You do the right thing today, and nothing seems different tomorrow. But compound growth is silent for a long time before it becomes obvious. It's only by staying the course despite setbacks, despite boredom, that you reach the point where the change is visible to everyone else. That is why, when you restart after failure, patience is your greatest ally. Patience feels passive, but it's deeply active. It's choosing to keep showing up, to keep trusting the process even when it feels pointless. Clear calls this the plateau of latent potential, the idea that habits need time to cross a critical threshold before results appear. Imagine an ice cube in a room that's 28 degrees Fahrenheit. You slowly heat the room, 29, 30, 31 degrees still. Nothing changes. At 32 degrees suddenly, the ice melts. The heat you applied earlier wasn't wasted. It was stored, quietly preparing for the moment of change. Your repeated efforts, even when they seem to do nothing, are laying the groundwork for your breakthrough. When you restart, it helps to separate your self-worth from your results. We live in a world obsessed with measuring, comparing, posting metrics and milestones. But this mindset traps you into believing that you are only as valuable as your last visible achievement. Instead, see yourself as valuable because you're trying, because you care enough to start again. In truth, the courage to restart is rarer than momentary success. Anyone can succeed once when motivation peaks, but to restart after you've tasted disappointment, that requires character. And character is what carries you far beyond the limits of motivation alone. Notice how often failure whispers old stories into your ear. See, you always give up. You never stick to anything. Who do you think you are? These voices aren't facts. They're echoes of past discouragement. The danger isn't in hearing them. It's in believing them. The antidote is evidence. Each time you show up, however imperfectly, you collect proof that you're not that person anymore. You're becoming someone who tries again. Over time, this evidence silences the old stories. One reason people struggle to restart is that they think the new attempt must be bigger to compensate for the last failure. I missed 3 days at the gym, so I'll do double today. But this approach often leads to another failure because it's unsustainable. The better strategy is to return to the smallest possible version of the habit, the version so easy that your past slip becomes irrelevant. Consistency rebuilds confidence faster than intensity ever could. Think of a bricklayer building a wall. Missing one brick doesn't ruin the wall. Stopping entirely does. When you restart, you're laying the next brick, not worrying about the one you missed. Over years, the wall still stands strong, and the missing bricks are barely noticeable. Your habits work the same way. Missing once is neutral. Quitting makes it negative. Environment is another silent force shaping your ability to restart. We underestimate how much our surroundings nudge us toward or away from our goals. In Atomic Habits, Clear describes how to redesign your environment, so the right choice becomes easier, and the wrong choice becomes harder. This principle is powerful after failure because it reduces your dependence on fragile willpower. If you failed to stick to your reading habit because your book was buried under clutter, move it to your pillow so it's the last thing you see each night. If you failed to stop late-night snacking, keep healthy options visible and move tempting. Foods out of sight. A well-designed environment quietly guides you back on track. Social environment matters too. The people you spend time with set the standard for what feels normal. If your friends all value health, skipping the gym feels unusual. If they all stay up late, scrolling, doing otherwise feels strange. After failure, surrounding yourself with people who share your desired identity makes restarting easier. You absorb their norms, and effort feels lighter when it's shared. Another powerful tool for restarting is habit stacking, linking a new habit to an existing one. If you drink coffee every morning, use it as your cue. After I pour my coffee, I'll write one sentence in my journal. The existing habit acts like an anchor, making the restart automatic. The smaller the added habit, the easier it is to keep. Sometimes, restarting means accepting that your old goal no longer fits. Maybe your life has changed. A new job, new family responsibilities, new health conditions. Clinging stubbornly to an old goal can create frustration instead of progress. Flexibility isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Adjust your target, scale it down or pivot entirely, while keeping the underlying value alive. If your goal was to run 5 miles daily but time no longer allows, switch to walking or shorter runs. The identity, I'm an active person, remains, even if the form changes. Failure can also teach you about your true motivations. Many people discover that the habit they dropped wasn't deeply meaningful. It was chosen to impress others, or out of guilt, or because they thought they should. Use failure as a filter. What do you still feel drawn to restart, despite the frustration? That's usually closer to what genuinely matters to you. Intrinsic motivation, the satisfaction of the action itself, is far more reliable than external rewards. The person who reads because they love learning will outlast the person who reads only to finish a set number of books. When you restart, ask yourself how to make the habit enjoyable. Can you listen to music while exercising? Can you choose topics you love for reading? Enjoyment sustains you when results lag behind. Even with the best systems, boredom will come. Repetition breeds familiarity, which eventually dulls the excitement. Many people mistake boredom for a sign they're failing, but it often means the habit is becoming automatic, a positive step. When boredom hits, you don't always need a dramatic change. Small variations often help. If you run, try a new route. If you write, try a different time of day. The core habit stays, but novelty keeps your mind engaged. When restarting, measure progress carefully. The wrong metric can mislead you. For example, if you judge your writing habit by word count alone, you might force quantity over quality and burn out. Better metrics are often binary. Did I show up today? This keeps the focus on consistency rather than performance, which matters most early on. Self-talk is a hidden yet crucial part of restarting. Notice how you speak to yourself after a setback. Do you use words you'd never say to a friend? Instead, practice self-compassionate language. I slipped, but I can. Try again. One slip doesn't define me. This gentle approach keeps you emotionally open to the next attempt. Celebrate small wins, even if they seem trivial. When you restart and complete your tiny habit, take a moment to acknowledge it. I did it. This builds positive reinforcement. Over time, your brain associates the habit with a feeling of success, making it easier to repeat. Accountability can be a restart catalyst. Share your plan with someone supportive. Choose someone who will encourage you rather than judge you if you slip again. The knowledge that someone else knows your intention often helps. You follow through on days when motivation fades. Journaling can help you process setbacks constructively. Each evening, write briefly. What went well? What was hard? What can I do differently? This shifts your mind from self-criticism to problem-solving. Over weeks, your journal becomes a record of growth and resilience. Reflect too on why the habit matters in your broader life story. How does it connect to your values, your family, your health, your dreams? When your why is strong, your commitment deepens. The habit stops being a chore and becomes an act of self-respect or love. If failure makes you feel stuck, try changing your starting point. Instead of aiming to resume exactly where you stopped, restart from a smaller, simpler place. This avoids the pressure of making up for lost progress and helps you regain momentum. Don't wait for perfect conditions to restart. Life will always offer reasons to delay. I'll start when work calms down. I'll start after vacation. I'll start next Monday. Each delay makes restarting harder. Instead, begin now, however small. Starting creates clarity, an energy that planning alone never does. Recognize the difference between falling behind and quitting. Falling behind is missing a few days. Quitting is deciding not to try again. The first is inevitable. The second is optional. Treat each slip as part of the process, not the end. Over time, restarting becomes a skill. The first restart feels heavy, the second a bit easier. Eventually, it becomes automatic. Slip, notice, adjust, begin again. This resilience, more than any single streak, is what builds lasting change. Some habits fail repeatedly, not because of laziness, but because they conflict with deeper needs. For example, waking up early might fail because you need more sleep. Understand and respect your body and mind. Sometimes the restart needs to be a different habit that meets the same goal. When restarting, remember that discipline isn't the absence of desire to quit. It's the ability to keep going despite it. Even the most disciplined people feel resistance. The difference is that they act anyway, often in a smaller way on hard days. Visualizing the process, not just the outcome, can help. Instead of picturing yourself as someone who has lost weight, picture yourself shopping for healthy food, cooking, walking, and sleeping well. This grounds your goal in daily actions. Use implementation intentions. Write a clear plan. If it's 7 p.m., then I'll read for 5 minutes. Specificity makes action easier than vague intentions like read more. If external rewards motivate you, use them wisely. Pair your habit with something pleasant. Listen to your favorite podcast only when running. Over time, the activity itself may become rewarding enough to stand alone. After each restart, set aside time to review what triggered the slip. How can I remove or neutralize that trigger? For example, if stress caused late-night eating, experiment with stress-reducing habits like a walk or deep breathing. Understand that identity change is gradual. At first, your mind may say, "I'm trying to be a runner." After enough consistent restarts and practice, it changes to, "I am a runner." Each small act is a vote for this new identity. The biggest trap after failure is thinking, "Since I failed, nothing I did before counts." In truth, every past effort built capacity, awareness, and skill. You are not starting from zero. You're starting from experience. Even if your previous streak was impressive, let go of trying to match it immediately. Build a new streak from today. The old record is evidence you can do it, not a standard you must instantly reach again. Remember, motivation is like the weather. It changes daily. Systems and habits are like the climate. They stay stable over time. Build for the climate, not for the weather. Treat every restart as an experiment, not a test of worth. Curiosity reduces fear of failure. Let's see what happens if I try this. Over time, you become a scientist of your own behavior. Acknowledge effort as progress, even when outcomes lag. Writing 1 page, walking 10 minutes, meditating briefly, all are wins because they reinforce the habit loop. If possible, design friction into old habits you're trying to avoid. Log out of distracting apps. Keep them off your phone, or add steps between craving and action. More friction means less mindless relapse. Likewise, add frictionless paths to good habits. 1 click to open your writing app. Keep your shoes by the door. Preload healthy meals. Use cues to remind you. Alarms, sticky notes, or a daily calendar. Check all help trigger the habit. Cues are especially helpful after restarting, when the habit isn't yet automatic. Understand your rhythms. If you always skip habits at night, schedule them in the morning. Your biological energy pattern affects consistency. Practice gratitude for the chance to start again. Many never do because they've given up hope. Each restart is a gift you give your future self. Lastly, know that you're not alone. Millions struggle, restart, and quietly keep going. What matters isn't how many times you fell, but that you kept rising. In the tapestry of your life, the threads of effort, humility, and resilience often matter far more than the loud, shiny moments of success. Every restart, no matter how small, is a quiet revolution against despair. It's a declaration. I still care. I still believe in who I can become. Over years, these small rebellions build a legacy of strength, hope, and quiet triumph. So, if you've fallen today, yesterday, or 100 times before, know this: the path is still open. The habit is still yours to reclaim. The next small step is waiting, and you, just as you are right now, are enough to take it. And so, as you stand once more at the beginning, remember that the very act of restarting contains its own quiet strength. It's an act of self-respect to rise, dust yourself off, and try again. In a world where it's easy to stay down, to criticize, or to surrender to hopelessness, choosing to restart heaven if no one sees, even if no one applauds, is itself a kind of triumph. The process is rarely smooth. Some days will feel heavier than others. Some mornings you may wake up energized, ready to begin. Other mornings you might lie in bed, bargaining with yourself, feeling the weight of past failures pressing against your ribs. This is human. The goal isn't to erase those moments. The goal is to meet them with gentleness, to say quietly to yourself, yes, I've been here before, and still I choose to begin. If you could watch yourself over years, you'd see that real change is less about forceful breakthroughs and more about thousands of small recommitments, a quiet decision to walk for 5 minutes, to write one paragraph, to drink a glass of water, to pause and breathe instead of reacting. Each tiny choice seems too small to matter in the moment, but across months and years, those choices add up. They shape who you are becoming. Failure is not a sign that your goal is impossible. It's evidence that the old strategy, the old system, wasn't quite right for the real circumstances of your life. It's an invitation to look again, to ask what was missing, what support did I need, where can I make this easier next time? The heart of atomic habits is this understanding, behavior. Change is not a battle of character. It is a question of design, and so, rather than telling yourself to try harder, you might instead ask, how can I design my environment so the right choice feels easier? How can I make the habit smaller so it feels less overwhelming? How can I make the action itself more enjoyable so that I naturally want to return to it? In doing so, you build habits that can survive even when your mood dips or your motivation fades. One day, perhaps without even noticing exactly when it happened, you'll find that the thing which once felt impossible now feels normal. The morning walk, the nightly reading, the healthier meal, the journaling, the mindful breath, they become part of the fabric of your day. You may not feel an explosion of pride every time you do them, and that's part of the beauty. They become so natural they no longer require constant struggle. Yet even then, slips will come again. Life will surprise you: illness, travel, grief, unexpected changes. In those moments, your old fear of failure might whisper again. But by then, you will have practiced restarting so many times that you know the path back. The habit isn't ruined, it's only resting. The streak isn't broken, it's just paused. You know that the next small step is always available to you. And in that moment of restarting, you quietly prove something important. You are not defined by a single day, or a single slip, or even a dozen failed attempts. You are defined by the sum of your intentions and your willingness to keep trying. You become, over time, the kind of person who doesn't stop at setbacks, but learns from them and rises again. The truth is, anyone can act once when inspired. What sets you apart, what truly builds your character, is acting again without inspiration, choosing to show up when no one sees. When you don't feel like it, when the excitement is gone and only commitment remains. In that choice, you discover resilience not as an abstract idea, but as a living, practiced skill. And remember, restarting doesn't mean returning to exactly where you left off. Often, you come back wiser, clearer about what matters, gentler toward yourself. The new version of your habit might be smaller, slower, or simpler, but it fits your real life better, and that makes it more sustainable. You might be surprised, years from now, to look back and see how many times you fell, yet also how many times you stood back up. Each restart, each quiet recommitment is a thread in the fabric of who you are. And when you see the whole tapestry, you realize it was never about perfection, it was about persistence. Failure, then, is no longer something to fear. It becomes a teacher, a mirror showing you what still needs attention, what systems need improvement, what parts of your environment still pull you away from who you want to become. Seen this way, failure becomes part of the process, not the end of it. You will discover that restarting is an act of hope. Each time you start again, you affirm your belief in growth, in your own ability to change, in the possibility that tomorrow can be better than today. That hope is powerful. It keeps you moving forward, step by step, even through times of doubt. In this journey, you may notice that self-compassion is not an obstacle to discipline, but its ally. People think they must be harsh with themselves to stay on track, but the truth is, harshness often makes you quit sooner. Gentleness keeps you open to trying again. You learn to speak to yourself as you would to a friend. Yes, it was hard, but you can still begin. One small step is enough today. Your relationship with habits will mature over time. Early on, habits feel like tasks on a checklist. Later, they feel like expressions of who you are. You begin to see them not as rules you must follow, but as tools that help you live closer to your values. Imagine who you could become if you kept restarting, again and again, without shame. Imagine your health, your skills, your relationships, your peace of mind, built day by day by these quiet recommitments. It wouldn't look flashy to anyone watching from the outside, but to you, it would feel like freedom. The ultimate gift of restarting is this: you teach yourself that change is always possible, no matter how many times you've fallen. That hope makes you braver, less afraid of risk, because you know that even if you fail, you can begin again. So, as you stand here, perhaps after yet another slip, ask yourself not, why did I fail, but how can I restart gently today? Start with the smallest step, the version that feels almost embarrassingly easy. Track it, celebrate it, adjust it as life changes. Make your environment your ally, your identity, your compass, your systems, your anchor dot. And when doubt whispers, remember, it's not about never falling, it's about always rising. Each time you do, you add another proof to the story. I am the kind of person who starts again. Over the months and years, that story will matter far more than any single moment of success or failure. This is the quiet, powerful truth at the heart of habit change. Your future is not built by sudden heroic effort, but by the thousands of times you choose to begin again. Each small, imperfect action compounds into something greater than you can see today. So go ahead, begin again today, right now, in the smallest possible way. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel strong. You just need to take that next small step. And then, tomorrow, another. Over time, these tiny steps become a path. And on that path, you don't walk as the person you fear you were, but as the person you are becoming: patient, resilient, quietly, unstoppable. That is how you build a life, not by waiting for the perfect moment, but by making this moment, imperfect as it is, your starting place, again and again, until one day you look back and realize you have become what once you only hoped to be. And that, in the end, is the real measure of success. Not never failing, but always choosing to rise, however many times it takes. You, just as you are, can do this. The next small step is waiting. Start now. Start small. Start again.